It's time.
It's time.
And now, it's time for Herman and Sharon.
I love you. We thank you so very much for tuning in. You know, every time I start this telecast, I realize that we're involved in a miracle.
True.
Because with 500 different programs, you have chosen this one. And what you're going to hear today could be the most important information you will have today.
If you want to save money.
Yes.
We're talking saving money here.
Let me share something real quickly. A close friend of mine, which I won't use his name because he hasn't given me permission. He would, but I won't use his name.
Maybe.
He was an only child, and his mom and dad were getting close to heaven, and he had no idea what they had. And his dad was so private that he wouldn't tell anybody.
That's right.
But he was watching one of our telecasts, loved to watch this show, and he liked the attorney I had on. This is years ago. And he said, you know, I trust that guy. So we hooked them up, and this attorney that you're going to see today sat down, and it was just a few years later that his mom and dad passed away. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, that saved thousands of dollars for that family because of what our special guest today did for that just one family. Now, he does this all the time. So you need to stay here because this is information you will love to have.
Well, our special guest today is Joe Pippen.
Yes.
We've had him so many different times over the years.
Yeah. In fact, he does something besides being the best attorney I know and the most generous guy. Take a look at this. This is what he does on his, I don't know.
You ask an attorney all about Florida law. If you have a legal question, you have a toll-free number, which is 877-943-9673. And let's go to John in Winter Haven.
That's what he does. You know,
That's radio.
I don't know where he gets the time, but he does that, writes books, everything.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about him. He graduated from the University of Baltimore Law School with a Juris Doctorate, and he's been in general practice of law since 1982. That's a long time.
Absolutely.
He also teaches business law and management, so at Community College and St. Petersburg Junior College.
And we're going to have all of his numbers, websites, emails, everything that you can contact Joe so that you can use the information. But
we're going to talk about living trust and estate planning today. Very important.
Follow us right here. We're going to talk to the guy that, in fact, hey, Dave, can you bring up that picture back in the 80s that he and I were talking? There it is right there. Believe it or not, take a look at that set. In fact, look at those cameras. That set, believe it or not, if you can get a shot of this set right here, that particular set has actually evolved
That's right.
the same construction into the set we have today. And if you can show them current picture of, there it is right there. Look at that. Believe it or not, that's the same set, but it's just
same
evolved
basic set,
into what you see now.
That's right.
But
that
boy,
was
you
1985.
have been with me for
Since the early 80s.
and you have aged so well.
Well, thank you. Well, you too.
Your genes have
Well, in other
kicked
words,
in.
you had just started your law practice pretty much at the same time we started here.
Right. I did my first show with you in either 84, 85, and I've been practicing for just a couple of years.
Isn't that
And
something?
I started radio, too, in 85.
Did you really?
So we're getting like 24 years of radio every week.
I know you'd probably whet my appetite because I did radio at
Same station, I
Same
think,
station,
yeah.
82 on the AM dial.
Right.
5,000 watts. We covered Florida.
570 probably. That was probably in the swamp. That station was just a tower with a building sitting on it.
But we're going to have Joe's website and his email and everything, but you can send for some of the information that I'm going to be talking about today, because let me tell you, this guy knows what he's talking about. You will want his books. I'll say that right up front. He has And believe it or not, you can understand what he's talking about. I mean, it's kind of neat, you know, when you're, because attorneys are they have a brain larger than most people. So they talk in a language that they understand, but he actually puts it in, you know, normal people.
What are those folks anyway? You got a rubber band around them. I can't
Attorney,
see them all.
well, it's ask an attorney about Florida law.
Right.
But you're watching in other states. I realize that, but this is going to give you an understanding of what the laws are, no matter where you are, and then you can check out, is this appropriate for my state? So it will assist anybody. But the whole idea is that you might understand how important it is to have this information, so that, in fact, I just cut this out, Joe, out of a magazine, and this is something maybe we can get into also. It says common life planning mistakes, and here are some of them. Not keeping records up to date and current. In fact, we were just in Joe's office to bring our records up to date, because, you know, we got kind of lax. You're busy, you don't think about it, and years go by just like that, and you don't realize that you need to update everything. And here's the second one: not sharing the location of vital records and documents. So you need to do that with your family. And here's the third one: letting emotions rule your decisions. And number 4, not getting legal affairs in order, e.g., property titles and so forth, naming inexperienced or irresponsible executors, and waiting too late to begin the planning process. So just some tips that I actually was in a local paper that...
It's amazing. A lot of people come into my office and they say, I want to leave everything equally to my children, but they own all their assets jointly with one child. So then they pass away, and that one child gets everything, and even though the will says 3 equal shares to my 3 children, the other 2 get nothing just because the way they owned and titled their assets.
Why would they title it with only one child?
Well, let's say one child lives with them or lives close by, and they take care of them, looking on them, so it's convenient to put their name on bank accounts, not thinking the consequence of that when they die is all going to go to the one. And they have a will that says 3 equal shares to 3 children, so they think that's going to control, when actually the way they own the account controls. So if somebody comes in, and I write letters to all my clients every 3 years suggesting a review, and those are the type of things we talk about. You know.
All right. I had that with my father before he passed away. I had the durable power of attorney. I had...
He helped with that, too.
Yeah, and I had, you know, my name on writing the checks in his account and everything. But when the time came for him to, and he passed away, I went by the will where, you know, you just...
Well, a lot of people do, because that's the right thing to do, perhaps. But a lot of people said, well, no, he intended for me to have that, and they keep all the money.
See, not everybody has your heart. Okay. And,
I see.
And especially if the estate were $1 million, they'd go, you know, this says me. And so it creates, but you have, the example I just gave before we walked over here, I remember that family, and that sticks in my mind, how you saved that guy thousands of dollars just by the dad watching our show and trusting you, because he's saying, you know, Herman has him on the show, he's got to be okay.
That particular gentleman had a whole bunch of stock certificates in his name that he just had in a safe deposit box somewhere. So if he had died, all of those stock certificates would have gone through probate because they were in his name. So what we did is we created a living trust for him, and then got him with a financial advisor that just simply transferred those stock certificates from his name to his named trustee under his own trust. And then when he died, the trust was still living, so then his son that you were talking about took over, paid the bills, did the taxes, and made the distribution. No probate very quickly.
Now, all of that probate, you know, if you're watching and you know Christ as Savior, and your funds, you've always been very careful to give to the Lord's work, to your church, and so forth. If you pass away and you keep it a secret with your family or, you know, children or whatever, that goes through probate.
If you die with anything in your name, and now you're deceased and it's in a deceased person's name, the only way to get it out is through a probate proceeding, which is a court order appointing an executor to